check in because it's going to be a little bit longer than I thought, but I really want to, while I'm at it, I'm going to bring you the completion of it instead of giving you a part two. So if you're with me, and I appreciate you sticking with me. Thank you for putting on your sleep pants and your fuzzy slippers and your patience, because I know I'm doing some repetition tonight, but I pray that the repetition becomes a benefit to you, that you'll really be able to get it, and that you're willing to get it, and that you're willing to invest the time to get it, because I believe that it's going to make a difference. So I have one question for you as we go from this place to the segue, as we go to part two. What are you avoiding just because you know the answer is painful? Oh, I hate to say a question like that when I'm getting all that love and all those hearts, because I know they're going to stop, because you're like, what? What are you avoiding just because you know the answer is painful? I want you to consider previous obstacles that have tripped you up. What are some things that tripped you up in 2019? I want to talk with you very transparently about this tonight. For some people, it's the same time of year, and I get that. For me, by the time October rolls around and November starts, the beginning of November, it's a difficult time. My late husband, Jerry, passed away on December 2nd, 2006. It's been 13 years. And so the month of November was full of the end of ALS. And I don't know what you know about Lou Gehrig's disease, but it's a very difficult disease, a very difficult pathway. So November reminds me of that November, the pink skies, the pink sunrises and sunsets that are typical of fall in Kentucky, Thanksgiving. Just the time of year is very different. The weather starts to cool off, the leaves start to fall. It's a very specific time of year. And I start to get this feeling. The first couple of years that I got it, I thought, well, it's just, it's the first anniversary. Of course I'm going to feel sad. And it's the second anniversary. So it's just been 2 years. And okay, so it's the third year, and then I didn't expect it. It just would be like for those of you who are no strangers to grief, you know exactly what I'm talking about, because grief is like an uninvited 2x4. You can be going along in your life and everything's going great, and then bam, all of a sudden from behind, an emotion or a smell or a song or a sunset or something is like, just brings it all back. Well, I started to notice after a few years that November was hard and that December was hard. And that without him in our lives, it was loud. And then some of the challenges that Thomas had on his journey, he is doing great today, by the way. But the journey for him as a teenager and for me as a single mom were very challenging. Like Stephen Furtick said, I didn't think it was going to be like this. It's not what I planned. And so I started to recognize that every year, come November and December, it was a problem. And so I decided to take charge of that. Instead of it taking me off guard, instead of it hitting me in the back of the head by a 2x4, I have redesigned the way I do those 2 months. I do still host our family for Thanksgiving, and so I make a big deal out of making delicious food for that. I've posted, you've probably seen my Thanksgiving meal. I think it happens to be one of the best meals ever. But in December, several years ago, I started going away by myself. We'd go to Anna Maria Island, rent a house, stay there, write, read, eat, pray, sleep, kind of not India, but Anna Maria. And then this past year, went with a good friend of mine. And so I've started applying self-care in a different way, because I recognize that a certain time of year trips me up. And I cannot afford to lose 2 months to grief and to sadness without just dealing with those emotions. So I share that with you, not to overshare, but to invite you to think. Maybe for you, it's also the same time of year, but for a different reason. Some people get sadness in November, even if they live in a warm climate, but they have to address it. You can't just say, oh, it's that time of year and I'm sad, and so therefore I'm going to crawl in a hole for 2 months. That's not okay. It's not okay if you're called to serve other people or called to do certain things in your life, and all of us are called to do something. So think back through 2019. Yes, you think back your 2019, and which months tend to be the most challenging for you, whether it's because of old wounds or your family or a particularly busy schedule or recurring events or birthdays or holidays. Whatever it is, if you can identify a month or a season that's harder for you, get proactive and redesign it. It doesn't have to be that way. You can do it differently. You can overcome that more effectively this year if you anticipate that maybe, like for me, November, December are more challenging. I don't want to lose 2 months a year. And I also don't want to hide from them and not acknowledge that they're difficult. So I've got the blend of acknowledging what's difficult about them and choosing to live healthily and or serve and or give and or do some self-care and take some downtime. Known distractions that pull or tug at your priorities. You can't work your business, your job, your hobby, or your passion 6 months out of the year and expect full-time rewards. Hello? Maybe it's not your calendar that vacillates. Maybe it's your belief. Maybe you allow unmet expectations to steal your joy and derail your belief. Or maybe your willingness wanes. Right here, it's a place for you to work. If you get derailed during a recurring time of year, or there's a recurring argument with a spouse or a friend or a parent, it could be anything. Times of year, birthdays, celebrations, finals, if you're a college student, concerts or performances, if you're in the arts, ask yourself, is there a pattern for me as to when I let go of what I said I wanted? And ask it out loud. And look back at your calendar. Look at 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019. I'll bet you there's a window of time where you have a hiccup. And if you haven't noticed the pattern yet, I'm inviting you to look for your pattern so that you can do something about it. Does anything recurring in your life come to your mind? Can you identify with what I'm saying? Did you have too little help or no help or no delegated help? Did you let go of that because you couldn't afford it? Okay, that identity is not a person who can accomplish that outcome. So what did you let go of? Will you let this keep happening, or will you design a better way to navigate the interruption or the distraction so that you honor your true values in this competition of your goal and that other thing that you keep forgetting about? There's a competition for your goal and this recurring thing. Who will win? You unlikely will be able to imagine a more positive future unless you honestly deal with this aspect, because you will on a subconscious level know the scenario that has tripped you up before it recurs, and your unwillingness to design a better design or not at all, it will beat you every single time. It beat me until I decided to take charge of it and to redesign it. Dr. Leaf says on day 248 in her Devo, that to think positively about prospects, we must be able to imagine ourselves in the future. Our brains have stamps from the past, but they're being rewired by our expectation of the future. Imagining a positive future reduces the pain of the past. Imagining a more positive future reduces the pain of the past. Hope leads to expectation, which creates peace. Remember what we're after? We're really after peace. That goal is the thing that we want, but what we're after is peace. Peace around us, peace within us. Hope leads to expectation, which creates peace, excitement, and health in our minds, thus increasing our body and brain health. Dr. Joe says, if you can influence your brain to change, if you can influence your brain to change before you experience a desired future event, you will create appropriate neural pathway circuits that enable you to have proper alignment with your intention before it becomes a reality in your life. And that literally means that if you can mentally visit a new future different from your past, and you expect that reality to occur and emotionally embrace the outcome, then you would for a moment be living in that future reality and conditioning your body to believe it, and therefore you choose behavior to take you there. Woo! Did you get that? I hope you got that. If not, I hope you play it back. That moves us to the incredible value of visualization. Yes, a vision board. Images of your goals and your desired future. I've known for years and years and years and years that what I put on a goal poster or a vision board that I look at every day, that was a part of my subconscious mind every day. The year that I met Jerry Shaw, I put a picture of Kevin Costner. It was the biggest thing on my board. I hadn't dated consistently. I had not had a date, but I was opening up my heart. And this picture of Kevin Costner, the year Dances with Wolves came out. Any of you remember that movie? It's the year I met Jerry. We saw Dances with Wolves 3 times in the movie theater that year. I do not for 2 seconds doubt, and I can take you through a lot of other goal posters and a lot of other realities as a result of that. But this moves us to the incredible value of visualization. Images of your desired future. This literally changes your brain to look at your desired future. Surgeons and professional athletes practice this all the time. Perfect outcome practiced in their mind. Einstein said that the imagination is more important than knowledge because imagination is unlimited and knowledge is limited. Your vision vision board brings clarity. It brings in reinforcements. It's like, yes, that is what I want. Yes, I said it. I wrote it. I'm living it, and I'm visualizing it. It prepares your brain in advance to go ahead and take you there. It's not hocus pocus. It is reality. It's how our brains are wired. It invites repetition visualization throughout the day, which is key that you can see it throughout the day. Also, other people in your home or people who visit you see it, and then you have shared accountability. You put it out there louder as a visual. Possibilities mindset is what is created. When you look at it, your mind goes into possibilities, things you want but that have not yet happened in your view throughout most of each and every day. It grows in your imagination. Oh gosh, I want to read you something from this book, How to Build a Better Brain, but I know that I'm like way over my time. Okay, I'm going to read this to you. What page? I marked it. Okay, this is about visualization. Is anybody still with me? Okay. The book is Build a Better Brain. My friend Carrie Wilkerson recommended this book to me. It is by Peter Hollins. It's awesome. In this chapter, we'll learn about mechanisms that lead us to have stronger yes or no responses and how to control them to produce the behavior and habits that you want. Usually a more powerful yes response and a weakened no response. The yes response is, yes, I can do this. Yes, I can have this. Yes, I can own this. Yes, I can go this distance. And no response is, back to limiting beliefs and your pattern and your history. Okay. So in this chapter, we'll learn about that. As with all things in neuroscience, it's a matter of battling your subconscious routines that have slowly worn grooves into your brain. Hello. And introducing new ones through repetition and presence. The neuroscience of yes, motivation, discipline, and focus. How does the motivated brain work? What's different on a biological level in someone who has a strong yes response in all areas of life? It's the neurotransmitters. They're produced, processed, and received. Motivation is tied to a specific neurotransmitter, dopamine. Dopamine, or lack thereof, is also what underlies our willpower and sense of self-discipline. Dopamine is one of the agents that works on the brain's pleasure and reward centers. It's especially tied to the mesolimbic pathway, the most vital reward pathway in the human brain. This pathway extends to other various parts of the brain, including a spot called the nucleus accumbens. This particular region is another center for the reward circuit. And oh, does the brain respond to rewards? The brain loves rewards, instant gratification and pleasure. It loves that like nothing else. When we experience pleasure or reward in some type, in any form, dopamine is at the root of it. It's the greater amount of dopamine that's released, the greater pleasure we feel. It happens during and after a pleasurable event. You feel it while you're eating a dozen donuts and also after you finish a great workout in the gym. You get dopamine. However, dopamine is released in anticipation of pleasure or reward, which ties it directly to motivation. And of course, chasing dopamine for the present moment instead of pushing it off is what happens when we lose self-discipline. If you start feeling good in anticipation of something, chances are you will be motivated into action to seek more of it. Thus, the more dopamine flying around your system, the more motivated you're going to be. But it's not just the amount of dopamine that influences where we are to capture pleasure. The influence of dopamine, don't let me lose you here because this is important. The influence of dopamine on your motivation also hinges on where dopamine is present in the human brain. Scientists from Vanderbilt University, just down the street in Nashville, examined brains on both highly motivated and unmotivated people. And they found that go-getters secreted higher levels of dopamine in their striatum and prefrontal cortex regions of the brain that correlate to movement and decision-making. The slackers, on the other hand, had excessive dopamine in the anterior insula. And you're going, oh, well, my dopamine's gone to the wrong place. I knew it. I just knew there was a reason. I'm not done yet. Which is more connected to the consciousness and subjective feelings. That is to say, slackers get more pleasure and comfort from not doing anything, physically at least, while the go-getters physically gain more pleasure from acting. Happiness either goes hand in hand with action or the lack thereof. You may not be able to determine exactly where the dopamine levels in your brain are located, but you can easily control the amount you have in your brain at all times. This is the part I want you to get. You can easily control the amount of dopamine that goes into your brain at all times. This seems to boil biological motivation down to a simple recipe. If dopamine spikes are the cause of motivation and discipline, then it stands to reason the more we can provide the brain with rewards, win in your day, every half hour, every hour, we'll be more motivated to overrule our laziness and spur ourselves to action. And science suggests there are ways we can, in fact, generate more dopamine going to the right places. The more instances of dopamine production we can generate, the more our brains will be trained to keep us motivated. So one suggestion is to keep the brain in a constant state of receiving rewards or being in anticipation of rewards. Since things as small as scrolling through social media can generate dopamine, this is easier than we think. For instance, you can set incremental goals with accompanying rewards at each turn. When you achieve a goal, you say, in the next 30 minutes, I'm going to do ABC. You do it, you check it off, dopamine surge. Next half hour, I'm going to do ABC. Process taking me towards that outcome. Dopamine surge. When you achieve a goal, you bask in the anticipation of the reward you set aside for yourself, as well as gain the pleasure of accomplishment when you finish it. Dopamine's role in reinforcing pleasure correlates to one of the most well-known theories concerning human behavior. Rather, it's more accurate to say that studies on dopamine align with this more foundational theory. In other words, when you anticipate a reward or an outcome, the anticipation surges dopamine. You can control immediate dopamine, getting wins, anticipating an outcome and a win, looking at the visualization of it. So, what do we do from here? I'm going to bring it home. You've got to slow down to speed up. You've got to slow down, write it out, slow down to speed up. You've got to slow down to speed up. It's imperative that you carve out 3 or 4 hours to ask questions and answer honestly and proceed with goal setting that resonates with you in your heart. What is the outcome that you want? From the beginning questions we started with tonight, what went well in 2019? What didn't go so well in 2019? What did you learn from both? And how will you bring those lessons and wisdom into 2020 with great intention? The more detailed processing of what is in your heart and mind at this season of life, where you're conflicted. Example, can I be the best mom and best businesswoman at this season of my life? Can I be both, or am I trading it off in some way? If you have this or another conflict, or you felt a calling on your life to build something or to lead or to develop your talents and to strengths in a way that serves others, then you have to navigate truth on all of that. Most likely, it's simply a matter of enough delegated help, clear daily habits, specific work goals, a process that takes you out there, and grit and perseverance, the time and process of accumulation to your advantage. But it could also be complete and redirect in the process. You could be great at doing tasks that you do, but they're not the right tasks for the outcome that you've said. Asking and answering honestly is the only thing that will change your outcome for 2020. So as for me, I've worked through chapters 1 and 2 of the Breakthrough Goal Setting Workbook. I will break down the beginning of my prayer journal and cement and repeat where it's important before I set up my 90-day planner. So what are your next steps? I like steps, right? Just tell me what to do. What are my next steps? Because you've been talking an awful long time about a whole lot of stuff. What do I need to do? Is that what you want to know? Is that what you're asking? Like, get to the point. Here's the point. So let's consider, these are the places where people win or lose. So if these are the places where people win or lose, your to-do list is going to be within this conversation. The process and the thinking pieces. I can give you 100 or more examples just like this off the top of my head of specific people and myself with this process as a gauge. So what do you do? What are the steps? Number 1, carve out time to contemplate and decide where you'll invest yourself in developing your talents, saying yes to your call at this season. What are your priorities at this season? What is your true and genuine biggest goal? What outcome do you want more than any other thing 1 year from now? What do you need more than any other thing at this season of life? And what does that goal or outcome look like? How do you decide? Well, what would you regret ignoring? What would you regret repeating or missing? You got to slow down to speed up. Take some time. Do the questions, whether it's the goal setting workbook or the free download or the prayer journal. I suggest taking 2 to 4 hours to think through the past. What worked? What didn't? What do I want? What's most important at this time? What conflicts do I have? There are plenty of tools to guide the questions. Take 2 to 4 hours to process all of that. Don't use tools you've used before because your answers will be different and your former answers will distract you. I already made that mistake this week. And I'm kind of good at this stuff and I still did it. Hello, I don't even know. Okay, so number 1. Number 2, make your biggest goal public. People go after something quietly, just in case. I'm going to go after this just in case. I'm going to change this habit, but just in case, I'm going to keep it kind of quiet. I'm going to keep it on the down low. Yes, my private victory does precede my public victory, but it's not a secret victory. So whatever you're working on in secret, you have left yourself an out because you don't want people to know, you don't want people to watch you miss, you don't trust yourself. Your goal has to be make your biggest thing public. I suspect your issue with this, the things that you've made public in the past, you didn't follow through on or you did your part or you did not do your part to advance it. So the goal declaration, it's still stuck out there, right? It's on a flyer, it's on a goal poster, it's in other people's memories, it's in a newsletter, it's on a t-shirt, it's on a social media post, and you fear being the little boy who cried wolf one too many times. So the issue is, if that has been a backdrop, the fear of misspeaking drives you to keep your goal to yourself. So the challenge with that is that there's not enough accountability or enough community to drive anything worthwhile. It's like a jet taking off. You've got to have enough power, force, and attention on the thrust to launch a goal or anything that implies a breakthrough in goal setting, moving in a specific direction with energy and intent and action required. So number 1 is decide and prioritize. Number 2 is go public. Number 3, put your 90-day planner together. It's going to take 1 to 2 hours to set the first one up because included in that is going to be writing your affirmations to go along with your goals. Let me tell you something. If you can only write 3 or 4 affirmations, good. You set your goal, you set up your planner. Let's say you set 1 habit, maybe 2, 1 or 2 habits, and then 5 or 6 affirmations. Don't feel like it's got to be 3 full-blown goals. Broke. Leave some blank pages. If you do a 90-day planner, but you only set up 1 goal, good. Excellent. 2, fine. 3, okay. No more. Because 3 is still going to be a whole lot to navigate. Remember what I said, every goal you set is going to take energy, it's going to take knowledge, it's going to take time investment and accountability with probably 3 different entire categories. And so you want to make sure that your biggest goal, the thing you want the most, is what you're going to put the effort in. Leave some blank pages. They don't all have to be written in order to look pretty. Nobody's grading these. This is for you to win these next 90 days. So number 3, put your planner together, 1 to 2 hours, break down the biggest goals all the way from a year to 6 months to 90 days to a month to a week to the end of the day to the end of the hour so that your clarity is pristine. Write it out. Visit it daily, the end of the week, the space between 7 days. Take your marble. A week is gone. Put it in the other thing. Acknowledge the passage of time so that we may grow a heart of wisdom according to Psalms. The space between 7 days, and include your game plan in the most minute key behaviors. What would a person who's going to accomplish that goal do, say, eat, drive, sleep, wake, interact, respond in this moment? That's how the identity is formed. Number 4, work your 90-day planner every day and every night for tomorrow. Every day, frame your day. Decide once, put up the guardrails, execute once. Don't decide and then redecide. Decide and redecide. Decide and redecide. One of the ways that I know that I'm going to go work out the next day is I put my clothes out on my heated floor at night. I don't have a heated floor. That's why I don't work out every day. No, you have a dryer. You have a dryer, or you have a fan from Target that you can turn the heater on your clothes. There are a lot of things you can do. The point is, I'm picking out my clothes for tomorrow so that in the morning, I'm not having to say, oh, what pants am I going to wear? I wear my footies. I don't know which shoes go with this. I can't find a jog bra. Okay, I'm not going to go. Decide once, plan once, execute once. When you do it that way, you're not always battling with yourself. Don't you hate arguing with yourself? Like, do I want to go? Do I not want to go? I'll work out. I don't want to work out. I feel kind of fat. I don't know. That's why I want to go work out. And you go in circles. Decide once, prepare once, put guardrails up, execute once. Protect your direction and choose to follow the yellow sticky pad 1/2 hour at a time. Remember, the old pattern has produced a predictable outcome. And without a process that is proven to not only guide you to multiple wins towards your desired outcome, the outcome is just a wish. The number one question people had when I said, what do you want me to talk about on this live? The number one question everybody had was, how do I stick with my goal long enough? In other words, without getting distracted or discouraged long enough to get a result. People want an easy button, and that's what I kept thinking. They want an easy button. They want an easy answer. It's work. It's work for me too. Even the things that I'm good at, it's work. It's fun. It's rewarding. Like, I got dopamine going everywhere right now because I'm doing what I want to do. I'm giving to you in a way that is fulfilling and rewarding me, because I know that some of you listening are actually going to really give it your best. Breakthrough Academy students, the successes and victories and camaraderie and connection and understanding between those men and women, mind-blowing. Mind-blowing. They stay connected. It's unbelievable what they've gathered because they came for 2 days at a time to really process this through. It is work. You've got to build the muscle of grit and tenacity and emotional management and perseverance, just like building this muscle. You got to build those other muscles as well. Grit has to be built. Perseverance has to be built. Emotional management has to be built. This is something you and others build. It's not something that other people have and you don't. It is just like a muscle. You have to build it. You see disciplined people that you think, oh my gosh, they're so disciplined. They have a handful of disciplined habits and a frame to their day. And they play those same habits over and over and over again because they're reliable and they play into the direction that they want their lives to go. If your habits aren't building your direction, you have to build different habits one at a time. If my number one goal is to lose 25 pounds and my best habits are networking and meeting 5 people a day or making 20 calls a day, I may be growing my clientele or my team or my business, but I'm not changing my health because I'm not putting the right activity for my goal in place. Did you follow that? If my goal is to lose 25 pounds, but my habits allow me to call 20 people a day, I'm not doing anything. I may be in process. I may be getting wins, but I'm not doing anything to affect the 25-pound weight loss. If my goal, however, has to do with calling 25 people a day, and that's the outcome, but I don't do that, I eat clean, that's good, but it's not going to take me to that outcome. I've got to make sure that my outcome, my process, give me a running shot because my identity knows based on my habit that I'm becoming a person because of my lifestyle that can make it happen. My habits are just key behaviors and they've got to match my number one goal. Just because I'm disciplined in one area doesn't mean it will cause success in another area. However, discipline in one area makes discipline in another area more simplified because you understand the power of a healthy person. You understand the benefit of the hashtag process of accumulation. This is the context and foundation for a breakthrough 2020. Number 5, have a coach or mentor in addition to a peer power partner that you check in on a regular basis with, If you leave this out, you risk having enablers, yes people, and your own emotions as your only gauge for progress, and that's not safe. Number 6, have a spiritual, neurological, emotional, and proven plan of pivoting your thoughts, capturing those old, negative, repetitive ones that have created dead branches in your beautiful brain. According to Dr. Joe, if you only use your feelings as the means of thinking, you cannot think greater than you feel, and you will never change. To change is to think greater than how we feel. To change is to act greater than the familiar feelings of the memorized self. If you see a pattern in yourself, only you can break it. If you don't see or continue to deny it because stubborn is more valuable to you, pride is more valuable to you, you will repeat the pattern. Patterns only need addressing when there's some evidence that you're stuck or you have regressed in some area where you've set a goal and you're not making progress towards that goal. As a child, I grew up in a small town and my parents were educators. And we knew everybody, because they had taught generations of kids. And in the community, my dad was, and both my parents were very involved in the church. And so we cared for the aging and the older, and everybody knew everybody. There was a lot of a lot of community in the way that I grew up. And I can remember my dad saying, she just went crazy. She just went crazy, talking about an older person. She just went crazy. I'm going to share something with you that you might be surprised about, but as an adult, I hit a window of mental anxiety in recent years, in the past 10 years, where I thought I might be going crazy. And I remember my dad saying, she just went crazy. How could a person be so emotionally stable, advanced and successful, and have these rogue, crazy thoughts and not be able to get emotions under control? Well, thankfully, I had been studying the brain already, and I reached up and out to the right people, the right peers, the right mentors, the right coaches, the right professionals, and turned it. I didn't let emotion run me. Now, I share that with you because many people let emotion run their lives. If they feel good, everything's fine. If they don't feel good, things are falling apart. And it's important that you understand that emotion is God gave us the gift of emotion. Emotion is a beautiful thing. But when you start to recognize that there's a pattern of scary thoughts or rogue thoughts or depressed thoughts or thoughts that are not typical for you, or you've got to recognize that God has created you in a way that you can capture those and that you can be supported in a way where you can return to new healthy branches in your brain, a completely renovated gut, because there's a gut-brain connection, but it's work. And I want you to know that I believe that every single person watching or listening live or in a replay will have a season where you're challenged. You're challenged in your faith, you're challenged in what you believe, and you have to stand up and trust that God's promises are true and that there is a pathway to life. I lay before you life and death. Choose life. Choose life. That's the correct response. So, I didn't let emotion run me. I knew that it could end up defining me and that I'd be a statistic. This is actually another day and another Facebook Live on wellness and health and consumption and proper friendships and great alignments and trusted mentors. But I knew I had to take charge of my mind and my brain and my gut and my consumption. Your thoughts can hamper or improve your mental health. I see more people out of pride choose ego, not deal with the truth, or not even pursue the possibilities. It's not helpful to ignore flesh-eating bacteria. So that one falls under deal with the truth. So all these fall under two categories. Number one, doing the work daily, weekly, and in your 90-day planner. And number two, being vocal and accountable about your one thing. That's it. That's all there is. That is all there is. It falls under two simple things: doing the work daily, weekly, in your 90-day planner, and two, being vocal and accountable about your one thing. Your success blesses others. There are no shortcuts. Get excited about the process of growth, the progress of changing your identity because you're changing your lifestyle, because you're changing your habits, and because you're writing them down every single day. The ability for you to remember what your one thing is, what your one goal is, what your one outcome is, because you're willing to write it down every day and align your key behaviors to come behind it. And in that, personal growth and transformation starts to come. Increase and success are meant to include bringing other people along. There may be private victories, but there are no secret ones. So remember, 52 weeks, one at a time. We've got 5 days in between the bridge of 2019 and 2020. Our strength and beauty are not born on easy roads, but emerge from battle wounds of struggle, vulnerability, and perseverance. Some wounds come to us completely uninvited through circumstances well beyond our control. Some of the battle wounds are at our own hand and repetitive choices. For most of us, though, our wounds are a blend of both. I believe we can and are called to make the turn of this decade, the turn of this year, a most remarkable stake in the ground, best ever 2020. I believe you have the desire. I believe you have access to the tools and the support. And I believe you have the grit and faith to live in love and truth that can and will unfold any possibility. Mark Batterson says, the greatest moments in life are the miraculous moments when human impotence and divine omnipotence intersect. And they intersect when we draw a circle around the impossible situation in our lives and invite God to intervene. I want to close with two scriptures. The first is from Philippians 3:12-16. I'm not saying that I have it all together, that I have it figured out, but I'm well on my way to reaching out for Christ, who has so wondrously reached out for me. Friends, don't get me wrong. By no means do I count myself an expert on all of this, but I've got my eye on the goal, where God is beckoning us onward to Jesus. I'm off and running. I'm not looking back. So let's keep focused on the goal, those of us who want everything God has for us. If any of you have something else in mind, something less than total commitment, God will clear your blurred vision. And you'll see it yet. Now that we're on the right track, let's stay on it. And then this is my scripture for the new year. It's from Isaiah 43:19. And I invite you to take it as yours. For I'm about to do something new. See, I've already begun. Don't you see it? I'll make a pathway through the wilderness. I will create rivers in the dry wastelands. My word for 2019 was elevate, to make something bigger, to make it better, to encourage it, to draw something out of it. My word for this new year is actually one of my strengths. It's going to be to maximize. Maximize the moment, maximize the opportunity, maximize the relationship, maximize the gift, maximize the call. I pray that you find your scripture, your verse, your word, that you go after it hard, that you decide your outcome, that you determine the process is a foolproof process to get that outcome, and that the identity you're going to work on the habits and the thoughts, and you're going to become a person who is accountable and can move in the direction of accomplishing that outcome, because you're going to look at the visual, you're going to listen to the affirmations, and you're going to get the work. Whoo! We've had some time together tonight. Thank those of you who stuck with me all the way. I pray you God's greatest overflow of amazing confidence and power, that it rests on you, that he envelops you in his love and his power and every provision that you need, and that you walk into 2020 with your arms open wide, with your palms open for the anticipation, willing to do your part of the work. God bless you. Godspeed. Continue to shine brightly, and Happy New Year.